There is a door inside the human mind that most people keep double locked. It leads to a basement where we keep the things we want but are terrified to ask for. It is the place where our deepest, darkest, and most specific desires live. Maybe you are someone who is powerful, competent, and in control all day long. You run a company, you manage a family, you hold the world together. But at night, in the privacy of your own mind, you fantasize about being completely helpless. You dream of being tied down, silenced, and told exactly what to do. Maybe you are someone who is known for your gentleness. You are the peacemaker, the nice one, but you have a secret burning hunger to dominate. You fantasize about inflicting sensation, controlling another person's reality, and seeing the look of total surrender in their eyes. Maybe you have a fixation on a specific object, latex, leather, shoes, or a specific scenario involving degradation, humiliation, or pain that makes no logical sense to your conscious, rational mind. And if you are like most people, you look at these desires and you feel a crushing weight of shame. You look at your browser history and you feel sick. You ask yourself the questions that haunt you at 3 a.m. What is wrong with me? Why am I like this? Am I broken? Am I a monster? Society tells us that these unique fetishes, these kinks, these dark hungers are flaws. We are told they are signs of perversion or moral failure or a damaged soul. We are told that healthy people only want vanilla, loving, gentle connection. But psychology tells us something very different. Psychology tells us that your kink is not a malfunction, it is a map. It is a sophisticated, high-resolution map of where you have been, what you survived, and how your brilliant, complex brain tried to save you. Tonight, we are going to open that basement door, not to judge what is inside, but to understand it. Because the truth is, we don't choose our fetishes choose us. And usually, they are trying to tell us a story about our own survival. To understand why trauma transforms into fetish, we have to understand the concept of psychological alchemy. Alchemy was the ancient magical idea of turning lead into gold. The human brain performs a similar trick. It tries to turn terror into pleasure. Think about the nature of trauma. Trauma, at its core, is an experience of powerlessness. It is the moment where you were trapped. It is the moment where you had no voice. It is the moment where something happened to you that you could not stop, could not control, and could not escape. Whether it was childhood abuse, emotional neglect, severe bullying, or growing up in a chaotic, unpredictable environment, the defining feeling of trauma is, I am the victim, I am passive, this is happening to me. But the human mind hates to be a victim. It hates helplessness more than anything else. It views helplessness as a threat to survival. So, as you grow up, your subconscious mind tries to rewrite the script. It tries to fix the ending of the story, and it often does this through sexuality. Freud called this repetition compulsion. It is the drive to repeat a traumatic event, but this time with a twist. You are in control. This is why the person who felt powerless as a child often grows up to crave power exchange in the bedroom. If you choose to be tied up, if you consent to be helpless, if you hand over the key to someone you trust, and most importantly, if you have a safe word that can stop the action instantly, you are no longer the victim. You are the director of the scene. You are taking the terrifying memory of helplessness and putting it inside a safe container where you hold the ultimate power. You are turning the lead of fear into the gold of arousal. You are mastering the thing that once mastered you. Let's look at the specific archetypes of how this manifests. One of the most common and most misunderstood is the eroticization of surrender. This is the high-powered CEO who wants to be a submissive, the lawyer who wants to be degraded, the strong friend who secretly craves to be treated like an object. Why? Why would someone who has so much power want to give it away? Because for the parentified child, the child who had to grow up too fast, who had to take care of their parents, who was never allowed to be weak, responsibility is a trauma. If you were the child who had to manage your parents' emotions, or pay the bills, or raise your siblings, you learned that being in charge is not a privilege. It is a burden. It is exhaustion. It is a heavy backpack you have never been allowed to take off. Your brain is suffering from chronic decision fatigue. You are constantly hypervigilant, constantly planning, constantly holding the sky up so it doesn't fall on everyone else. For this person, sexual submission is a vacation. To be told what to do, to be stripped of decision-making power, to be forced into a state of mindless obedience is the ultimate relief. It is the only time their brain is allowed to turn off. Their fetish isn't about humiliation, it is about the freedom of zero responsibility. They are using the fetish to reclaim the childhood right to be taken care of. When they are in subspace, they don't have to think, they don't have to plan, they just have to exist. It is a state of radical rest masquerading as punishment. Then there is the opposite, the eroticization of control. This is the person who needs to dominate. They need to tie, to bind, to impact, to restrict. They need to see their partner completely at their mercy. This often stems from the chaotic child. If you grew up in a home that was unpredictable, where addiction or rage or financial instability ruled, you felt unsafe because you couldn't predict what would happen next. You felt small. You felt like a leaf in a hurricane. You learned that the world is a dangerous place where things are done to you. As an adult, the act of total domination is a way of saying, I am the master of this reality. Nothing happens unless I say so. I control the pain. I control the pleasure. I control the chaos. It is a way of retroactively protecting the small child who felt unsafe. By becoming the monster or the master in the bedroom, you ensure that you can never be the victim again. You become the thing you used to fear, and in doing so, you neutralize the fear. But what about the darker, more confusing fetishes? The desire for pain, the desire for degradation. This brings us to the concept of sensory anchoring. For people who have experienced severe trauma, especially emotional neglect or dissociation, the world can feel unreal. They often struggle with feeling numb. Trauma disconnects the mind from the body. It makes you feel like a ghost in your own machine. You might go through your day feeling like you are watching your life on a screen rather than living it. For these people, intense sensation, even painful sensation, can be grounding. The sting of a whip, the shock of cold or heat, the pressure of ropes, the bite of a clamp. These things force the consciousness back into the body. It says, I am here, I am real, I can feel this. This is why masochism is often misunderstood. It isn't always about hating oneself. Sometimes it is about desperately trying to feel oneself. It is a way of piercing the numbness of depression or dissociation. It is using pain as a bridge back to reality. The pain is proof of life. Furthermore, there is the shame conversion. If you grew up being told you were bad, worthless, dirty, or too much, that shame can become a heavy, toxic weight in your soul. It becomes an internal voice that never shuts up. Paradoxically, some people deal with this by leaning into it sexually. They develop a fetish for degradation, for being called names, for being treated like trash. Why? Because when you eroticize the shame, you take away its power to hurt you. If getting called worthless makes you orgasm, then the bully in your head loses his weapon. You have taken the worst thing anyone could say to you and you have turned it into pleasure. You have hacked the system. You have looked the monster in the eye and said, yes, and I like it. This connects to a deeper neurological reality, misattribution of arousal. In the brain, the pathways for anxiety, fear, and arousal are remarkably close together. They are tangled vines. They all involve the sympathetic nervous system. They all involve high heart rate, shallow breathing, sweating, pupil dilation, and hyperfocus. The amygdala, the fear center, lights up during sex just as it does during danger. For the trauma survivor, safety often feels boring. Or worse, it feels suspicious. If you grew up in chaos, a calm environment feels like the calm before the storm. Your nervous system is wired for high voltage. It is idling at 5,000 RPMs. So a gentle, vanilla, missionary interaction might not register as love to them. It might just feel numb. It might feel like nothing. They need the spike of adrenaline, the fear, the risk, the intensity to feel connected. They need to push the edges of safety to feel alive. This is not because they are broken, it is because their baseline for stimulation was set to survival mode when they were children. They are simply trying to match the intensity of their internal world with the intensity of their external experience. They need a thunderclap to hear the music. But there is a specific type of fetish that is purely about the corrective emotional experience. This is where people reenact specific scenarios from their past, but with a loving partner. This is daddy or mommy play. This is age play. This is regression. Society mocks these kinks mercilessly. We call them creepy. We make jokes about daddy issues. But psychologically, these are often the most tender and heartbreaking attempts at healing. The person engaging in age play is often the robbed child. They are the person who wasn't allowed to be innocent. They weren't allowed to play. They weren't allowed to be needy. They were forced to be little adults from the time they were 5 years old. By entering a little space with a trusted partner who feeds them, holds them, gives them rules, or tucks them in, they are finally getting to experience the childhood they were denied. They are time traveling. They are going back to the scene of the crime, their childhood, and this time getting the love, structure, and attention they needed. It looks sexual from the outside, but from the inside, it is deeply restorative. It is a way of reparenting oneself through the body. It is a way of picking up the child you left behind and carrying them across the finish line. And we must talk about the fetish of the object. Shoe fetishes, latex, specific fabrics or items. Often, these are instances of imprinting. During a formative moment of high emotional intensity in childhood, maybe fear, maybe excitement, maybe confusion, an object was present. The brain, in its attempt to process the overwhelming emotion, latched onto the object as a symbol. Maybe the smell of latex is associated with a doctor's office where you felt scared, but also attended to. Maybe the sight of high heels is associated with a powerful, terrifying mother figure who held all the authority in the house. The brain creates a shortcut. This object equals intense feeling. Over time, as puberty hits, that intensity gets rewired into sexual arousal. The object becomes a talisman. It becomes a way to access those big feelings in a controlled, safe way. It is a souvenir from a moment that shaped you. The tragedy of the person with unique fetishes is not the desire itself. The tragedy is the isolation. Because we don't talk about this, people live their whole lives thinking they are monsters. They hide their browser history. They carry a knot of anxiety in their chest. They fear that if their partner truly knew them, knew the things they want to do in the dark, they would be disgusted. They would leave. So they live in a state of erotic splitting. They split themselves in two. There is the good me, the one who goes to work, loves their family, pays the bills, and has vanilla sex with the lights off. And there is the shadow me, the one who lives in the basement, starving and ashamed, feeding on scraps of fantasy in the middle of the night. But you cannot selectively numb parts of yourself. When you shame your desire, you shame your vitality. You shame the part of you that wants to live. And often, the more you repress the shadow, the darker and more distorted it becomes. The things we hide in the basement don't die. They grow claws. They get hungry. So, if you are listening to this and you have a desire that you have never told anyone, if you have a hunger that feels like it comes from a broken place, I want you to hear this. Your desire is not a sin. It is a solution. It is a creative, brilliant, desperate attempt by your brain to solve a problem that was too big for you to handle when you were small. It is your mind trying to take the things that hurt you, the powerlessness, the shame, the fear, the loneliness, and transform them into something that brings you joy, connection, and release. You are not sick. You are a survivor who learned how to repurpose the wreckage. You are an alchemist. The dungeon, the rope, the roleplay, the object. These are not evidence of your brokenness. They are the tools of your mastery. You have taken the weapon that was used against you and you have turned it into a toy. And that is not something to be ashamed of. That is something to be in awe of. Healing doesn't necessarily mean getting rid of the fetish. Healing means integrating it. It means realizing that you don't have to keep the door to the basement double locked. It means realizing that the shadow you deserves love just as much as the good you. Maybe, the next time you feel that pull toward the dark, instead of judging it, you can ask it a question. Ask it, what are you trying to heal for me today? Are you trying to heal my powerlessness by letting me surrender? Are you trying to heal my shame by letting me own it? Are you trying to help me feel real by giving me sensation? When you stop fighting the desire and start listening to it, you might find that it stops feeling like a dirty secret. It starts feeling like a reclamation. It starts feeling like the final step of survival, taking the pain that was done to you and deciding that from now on, it belongs to you and you can do whatever you want with it. You are the master of your own house now, upstairs and downstairs, and you are allowed to leave the door open.